How many snaps did they run in the 14 personnel?
That's only for us.
100% of the snaps.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into 14P Fantasy. I am your host, Justin Wright. Today, we are talking rookie draft strategy, specifically, how do you go about valuing those late round wide receivers? You know, by late round, I'm talking guys that have gone day 3 in the NFL draft, rounds 4 through 7. You know, we all have a favorite sleeper. You know, maybe it's Amon-Ra St. Brown from last year. Maybe it was Tylan Wallace. You know, there are different guys every season. Someone's going to fall in love with them. And guess what? It's probably not going to go well for that player. I mean, that is just what the numbers lay out. So today we're going to talk about why, you know, late round wide receivers are typically just someone you should avoid in your rookie drafts. Go for the quarterback. Go for the running back. And I'll get into why in a second. Before we do, though, guys, check out the Patreon page, 14 Personnel. If you like what me and Marco are doing, go to patreon.com/14P Fantasy. For $2, you can help donate, give me and Marco a little bit of cash so we can start getting closer and closer to doing this full time. For $5, you get all of our rankings, Dynasty tiered rankings, rookie tiered rankings, redraft rankings when they're out, in-season rankings, everything else. And the last tier, $9, will actually break down one of your Dynasty teams. So check that out, guys. Patreon.com/14P Fantasy if you like what me and Marco are doing for you. On top of that, remember, if you enjoy it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video, all that kind of stuff. All right. So we're talking wide receivers. Why in the third round of your rookie drafts, you're most likely better off drafting a running back. Let's get into it. So over the last decade, we're talking the last 10 years here, there have been 187 wide receivers drafted between the 4th and the 7th round. I'm not looking at undrafted. That's a whole, the numbers get worse. Trust me. But just looking at guys that actually get drafted, 187 of them. What have we seen over the last 10 years? 7 of those wide receivers at some point in time have scored 200 plus fantasy points in a single season. I picked 200 points because over the last, 4 or 5 years here, the number of wide receivers that scored 200 points in a season has gone up significantly. In 2017, 200 points got you a wide receiver 18. In 2021, 200 points got you wide receiver 28. So with the uptick in passing in the NFL, obviously we've seen wide receiver scoring increase. So now that mark to be really a top 30 wide receiver is 200 points. It is that threshold to be a weekly option, I guess, in fantasy. If I'm taking guys late in the third, I am swinging for the fences. I want the guy that's going to be, a consistent starter. I can go and trade for a bye-week flex, which is what 99% of these wide receivers turn out to be. I don't want to draft those onto my roster. Really, they don't give you value. They clog your roster, and it's not what you want. So that's where we're picking 200 points. So when we keep looking, if we filter out for injury, so, 12 and a half points a game, that over 16 games is 200 points. That sample actually increases to 10 points. So right now, guys, what we're looking at, if you're just doing the bare bones minimum to be a very good fantasy wide receiver, 200 points. You got 7 guys out of 187. That is 3.7% of wide receivers drafted over the last 10 years have given you a great fantasy season or an above average fantasy season. And even again, if we're looking at 10 wide receivers here, you're only up to 5% of wide receivers. And here's the thing. You don't know that these guys aren't going to get to that point because wide receivers take longer to break out. So we are willing to hold them for 2-3 seasons, even if they show you absolutely nothing. That's why late round, third round draft, or third round, end of the second, I'm going to take a late round running back because here's the thing. If they bust, I'll typically know it within a year. Pretty damn quick if a running back is worth rostering. Maybe they are a good backup, and that's fine. You can hold on to them. Maybe they get cut like Jared Dokes and then sign a futures deal. Right away typically. So they do not clog your roster year over year. just waiting on upside that's most likely never going to materialize. So now, on top of just looking at, all right, well, how have they done in individual or, over their career? Let's take a look at all of the seasons. And I'm saying all of the years these guys have played collectively. So those 187 wide receivers have played a total of 536 seasons combined. So now when we get down to the numbers here, we have 15 total seasons of 200 plus PPR points. So those seven guys from earlier, so these seven that have scored 200 have put together a total of 15 seasons. And that group is really, it's Tyreek Hill, it is Stephon Diggs, it is Marvin Jones, Darnell Mooney, Rashard Matthews, which, RIP that guy, Hunter Renfrow, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. Tyreek Hill and Stephon Diggs account for 9 of these 15 seasons. That is shocking, and it's terrifying. It also speaks to just the relative low upside of all of these late round wide receivers. It has to be a perfect situation for them to get over that 200 threshold. Amon-Ra St. Brown was a clear example. Swift and Hawkinson went out. St. Brown broke onto the scene, and that is why he broke 200. Hunter Renfrow saw a monumental uptick in targets when Darren Waller went down. Henry Ruggs did what Henry Ruggs did. That is what had to happen. And Darnell Mooney, basically, I think he's probably here to stay. Again, I'm a Bears fan, so I'm biased, but I think he proved a little bit more because he didn't really have injuries to prop him up. But the point is, even if they do break out, it's slim to none they do it a second time. Again, 3 guys have done it have at least 2 seasons. And we'll get to that in a minute here. But again, when we go and look at 12.5 points per game, accounting for injuries, that number does jump up to 24. You get like Cecil Shorts mixed in there and some other guys that you've never heard from ever again. So that's the thing, is these players just are not repeating, even if they do manage to hit that threshold. And the chances of them hitting that threshold are already so insanely low. When you look at 15 out of 537, 2.7% of seasons have resulted in 200 plus fantasy points. And when you do it just for the 12.5 games here, let's get this right, 4.4%. That's not a good bet to have at the end of your roster. And if you do want to draft these wide receivers, fine, you absolutely can. But the second I get a good offer, and if it's a trendy sleeper, someone's going to offer you a second round pick for him, and I'll take that 10 times out of 10. I do that consistently in leagues, and I think it's the best way to build value on your team. It's not holding on to these late round wide receivers that everybody swears is going to be the next Tyreek Hill or Stephon Diggs or whoever the hell else they want it to be. It is drafting them and then immediately looking to flip them in another package deal to get a more surefire asset. So now, we did kind of spoil this. Players with 2+ seasons over 200 plus points. It is not 4. That's wrong. It is 3 players. Again, it's Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Marvin Jones. Marvin Jones has done it twice. Stephon Diggs and Tyreek Hill, obviously, they are electric and tied to absolutely elite quarterbacks. And that is a huge indicator on if these late round guys are even, kind of worth a shot. And 9 times out of 10, it still doesn't work out. But if they're tied to an elite quarterback, I'm more willing to take a chance on them. So, and again, we look at the 12.5 points. It is 4 guys. It's the same kind of deal. So Martavis Bryant actually jumps in as the 4th player here, which is absolutely hilarious. So, but again, tied to an elite quarterback. It's crazy because Marvin Jones also did it with Detroit when he was tied to Stafford. So you have to have these great passing quarterbacks, terrible defenses. Things have to break the right way for it to be a consistent flow of points. But yeah, all of this really is to say, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he is good. I think he is a good player, but if I can get a first round pick for him, and I don't know if you can, but if you can, I am happy to flip him. The chances of him ever breaking 200 points again, it's not high. It just isn't. That's what the numbers over the last 10 years lay out for us. So again, guys, when you're looking in your rookie draft, late round picks, I'd rather take a shot on a 6th round running back like an Elijah Mitchell or a Jared Dokes or whoever else, because even if they don't pan out, a whole lot sooner than year 2, year 3, where you've just burned a roster spot. year after year. That's what it's about, is not keeping your roster clogged with guys that never actually, make it to the next level. You can always trade for a flex or, a top 36 wide receiver. Don't feel the need to draft guys that you think, they maybe could be a wide receiver 3. That's not worth the upside. Not even a little bit. Again, if you guys like what we're doing, check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/14p fantasy. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, like the video, all that stuff. It means a lot, and we appreciate it, guys. As always, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.
How many snaps did they run in the 14 personnel?
That's only for us.
100% of the snaps.